Welcome to the Copy Talk Podcast. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer member, FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Shannon Ross is CEO and managing partner of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, welcome everyone to a special edition. We're back to special edition.
I'm already laughing. Yes,
of
special
Coffee Talk
edition.
today.
Yes, special. It's a special edition.
It is.
You didn't tell me that.
Well, I just made it special.
Oh,
You know
right,
why
you're
it's
too
special?
sec-
Because
why?
we're going to be talking about a topic today that affects every household.
Oh.
Most of our listeners, not every. Well, it'll affect every household whether you need it for a certain upcoming event or not. But
That's
this is
true.
every single household.
This affects everyone
It does.
globally.
Globally.
This is not just.
Yes.
This is
so
not just
welcome.
stateside.
Aren't you glad you tuned in?
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at
The special edition that I just made it special?
No. I love our new. I love our new thingy.
Oh,
that
our new
nobody else
clapper
sees.
thing.
Nobody
Yes.
else sees the professional clapper
That's
thingy.
right.
I'm sorry. Should I not have done that to you, Kelly? I don't know why that makes me chuckle every time he does it. Yeah.
We're on
Why
camera. We can
let's
be
give a visual.
Isn't this fun? This is how we start every
Yeah,
show.
see?
Is
I
one of
love
these
that.
fun things.
Right
I used
here.
to only see it on TV,
I
but
know.
now we have our own.
Yes,
So it's
and it's
exciting.
we actually have a Ryan and a Kelly.
We do.
You know, like
Oh,
the
that's
daytime
right.
show.
We
Yeah,
have
they're
our own
Ryan and Kelly.
Kelly, that's awesome.
Ryan's not used to us yet. He's like, they're talking about me on the show and looking at me.
Oh, well, how are you?
I'm great.
You have your happy hat on. I call it your tried out hat, but it says
I
need more
don't-
happy hours.
Just because it's got one triangle on it, that's not
I know.
try.
I know.
That's just a one.
I know.
But yes,
know.
and I'm not a tried out. So
I tried out as a sorority for all of those who might not
Yeah.
know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I was not.
I
a
wasn't
tried out.
either. I was in a sorority, but not
Me
that
too.
one.
I didn't know you were in a sorority.
Well, if I tell you this quick story, it'll make you laugh because this is so me.
Oh, good. I want to laugh. Go.
So I decided to
I think I know this.
try to become in a sorority at the University of Tennessee my sophomore year, which is a big no-no because apparently if you're a sophomore, you've spent too much of your time outside the sorority life, and so they're limiting how many they accept, number one. So I saw it as a challenge to begin with.
Of course you did.
My goal going into it, it's not so much that I wanted to be in a sorority. It was more of because I had some friends who were. It was it was more the challenge I had going into it not to get cut by a single one. And so I went through Rush with that sole goal. I don't even know why.
So basically, you didn't care.
No.
You just.
At the beginning I didn't.
Is it
I
because
think
you wanted
towards-
everybody to like you, or you just wanted the 100%
I
mark?
think the one I
100%
wanted
mark.
the 100% mark, which I totally got. So
They all liked you, huh?
yeah, they did.
Oh,
but
well,
I
you're
don't know how-
likable.
well, and I'm sure I was very strategic in my planning,
No
right? And
way.
a chameleon to be all to all, but
You were strategic.
it was all good. And honestly, towards the process, because I kind of thought this is silly going through, and I don't know. And so but as I went through, because I did find some really good girls and friendships, and it was fun.
Yeah, they're.
That I actually cared what I selected towards the end. So,
Do you hear yourself?
I know.
They were like
I
they
was
were really good
younger.
girls, and they were.
There
ni-
were.
yeah,
I think I had some stereotypes in my
We're good
mind.
girls.
Uh-huh.
we're nice.
I know.
We're not all.
Yeah. Well, there's certainly certain stereotypes about
There is
sorority
too.
girls
Yes, there are stereotypes.
that I think, and you know me in large groups of women, I
think that's why I'm
tend
shocked you
to
even
sometimes
did
steer
it.
clear because I get a little overwhelmed because I'm so introverted.
You don't typically like
And
to be
so-
around 3 women at one time.
I know.
And they better be close. Like they better be friends.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's my funny sorority story. So
Oh.
I did join one, but
So
and
you
it
did
was-
pick one.
I did.
Okay.
But then
You gonna share with us who it is?
it's not a very big one at University of Tennessee. It was AOPI.
I've never heard of that one.
It's not a national one, but at
AO?
UT it's the biggest one.
Oh.
AOPI. I think I still know
AO?
the chair too, but I won't say
Oh.
it on the show. I don't know if I know the whole thing.
That would be
I do. We had a
fantastic.
secret handshake and everything.
Well, of
though,
course you
but-
did. You have to go through.
Yeah. So,
Nah, I can't even.
but it
remember.
was was fun. At UT it is a large sorority, and the girls were so awesome. And I had three of those girls in my wedding,
Really?
Mhm.
Oh wow.
and we're still friends on Facebook.
Okay. Well, look
So
at us.
there you go.
4 minutes into
There's
the
your
show,
silly-
and we already went off the
silly
rails
story. I
about
know.
something we didn't even.
I know, about something that has nothing to do with
It was
today's
'cause of my
show.
hat.
It was because of your Tri-Dell hat.
Yes, it is my happy hat. I've
Your
now
happy
worn
hat.
this like 3
I
times.
like that it's a happy hat day.
I
though.
love my hat.
We
I
need
love-
more happy hat days for
Yeah.
you.
Well,
So-
I'm sleeping better now.
That helps a ton.
Oh my god.
Nothing goes well when you're not sleeping
I
well.
know.
So
I am sleeping really well, which is nice, which
well,
makes
good.
me happier. In the
And
morning.
you had some sanity spends this week. We both did kind of last minute. Well, I would call it a
Are
sanity
you talking about
spend.
last week?
I said last week.
Oh, I thought
or
you said
between
this week. I'm sorry.
between the last show and this show.
Well, yeah. Are you talking about Thursday?
I don't know.
Wow, you're making me think.
You got your nails done. It
I
had
did.
been a little while.
I hadn't
That's
got my
always
nails done in a
fun.
while, but it was funny
Me
that we
too.
both got them done on the same day. Didn't
Yes.
know we were doing
Last
it.
minute
And when
kinda
I called
thing.
to schedule, you were already there. And
and
apparently, I
we
was
go
being
to the
talked
same
about.
nail person. Yeah, and we were all talking
And
about
I was
you.
being talked about because I think he thought I fell in.
They don't
the
know me because
ocean.
I don't go as often, but they know you. They're
Yeah.
like, where's April? Is she okay?
I make friends everywhere
and
I go.
you know you do.
Yeah, I think he thought I'd
So.
like died or something because I religiously got him done every 2 weeks.
So yes,
but
that was fun.
yeah.
It's just nice to do some self-care and beauty routines sometimes. Let's just be
I'm
honest.
gonna be honest. I texted you afterwards.
So.
I'm like, something like getting my nails done makes me feel more like a woman.
It does.
I'm not saying it should. I'm just saying it does.
I know. It just does. And
It
it's
just
just
does.
nice. Like, I feel like sometimes I get into these modes where it feels like all I do is work, either work with family members or work with work people. And
Yeah.
I just like, so that it just creates some space where it's just you.
Is that why you didn't even tell me you were getting them done that day?
Probably.
I'm your best
No,
friend.
of course not.
But that's okay.
But I have to go at times you can't go.
I work with her, so she doesn't tell me because she relates
Well,
me to work.
it was a half an hour before I went. I
Okay.
called and he had an opening. So
We
I was like,
won't-
oh, I'm on my way.
We won't spat about this on the show. Just kidding.
Next
Um,
time, I wasn't planning it.
Well, and we have a sanity spend coming up on Saturday.
Oh, yes, we do.
We do. Our teams play college
our
football.
college
My team won last weekend.
rivals
Her team
play
didn't.
each other.
You
So
had a rough
you
loss
need to
this
watch it
weekend.
at my house because Alabama loses when
No,
you watch it at my
You're
house.
coming to my house. Your whole family's coming to my house. My house has the mojo. Your house does not have the mojo. So, because you're going to lose. There's no point in your team winning anyway. You're not going to go to the playoffs. You're not going to go to the national championship.
Whatever.
You might as well let us
I know.
win
It's
because
kinda
we're.
sad. UT used to be real. I mean, I went there during the Peyton Manning era, so we like won national
I
championships.
know.
when I
You
was there.
wave that
It's the
banner
glory
flag
days.
all the time. That was a long
You
time
always
ago.
have to go back to
I
when it was
know.
working.
Living in the past. All right. Okay. So I'm really
Today's show,
excited
why
about
it's
our
a
topic.
Special edition.
Yeah. Let's go back to that.
We're going to call it the Christmas crisis. I know not everybody out there celebrates Christmas, but still listen to the crisis part because it will affect you. And this is all about.
Who doesn't celebrate Christmas?
There are people out there who don't celebrate Christmas. Hello.
I'm looking at Ryan
There's
and Kelly.
Kwanzaa, there's Hanukkah, there's,
Well, I mean,
you know,
okay,
our
so
country, whether you have a religious background or not regarding Christmas,
That's
a lot
my
of families
point.
I know still
Yeah.
celebrate Christmas.
that's my
like
point.
the Americanized Christmas part.
Well, and I think of the holiday season. I think of Hanukkah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I know we called it Christmas crisis, but I think of
Yeah.
Hanukkah in those those
sure.
holidays.
Anything
as
that
well.
requires a gift or an item purchased at a store, listen
Listen
to this
up,
show.
because
Yeah.
this is
Perk
about
up
to
your
rock
ears.
your world.
Because you know there are some reports that you're starting to hear about, and our job on this show, I really want to give the listeners, and we've done this all throughout the year, a heads up, so that we can plan, so that we can kind of as a community build some things into our routines to help level out some of these ups and downs that we're going to see. And this is, it has the potential to be. I think it'll take a lot of people off guard. It's just starting to become an issue. Starting kind of mid-September, you started to hear some reports about supply chain problems.
Right.
And it's definitely picked up its pace in the recent 2 weeks.
Right.
Because Christmas is coming, and Christmas is obviously the largest spending event that our country has.
Right.
And so why we wanted to dedicate today's show about it is because there's a lot of things out there that people don't, I think they hear it and they're like, what is that? Or what's a supply chain? Or why does that matter
To be fair,
me?
when I started hearing
know?
about it on the news,
Yeah.
and I know it's of last Tuesday, there were 80 ships still anchored, docked, waiting to get in. And I'm like, okay, I know this is a big deal. It is a lot of ships. It's a lot of containers. I've noticed, like, just items I've ordered recently that the shipping times are taking longer than normal, but it was nothing that I needed to have overnight. But when I started looking into this more over the past few days, when we decided we wanted to dedicate a show to it, this is it's a big deal. Number one, I thought it was interesting that 90% of goods of consumer goods have to cross a sea
That's crazy.
to get to the consumer. 90%. And then in the U.S. alone, in Port Long Beach and in L.A., it's Port Long Beach and Port of L.A., over 40% of seaborne imports to the United States. Those are the two ports that they come into. And they are, there's 80 container ships
pictures
still
are compelling.
docked. Yeah.
Because, you see ship
this will
after ship
impact
after
you.
ship or container after container at these ports just sitting there or
Yeah.
just waiting to come into port even.
Well, and the whole supply chain is so it's factory to consumer,
Right.
and every step in between.
Yep.
And you've got first tier suppliers, second tier, third tier, fourth tier. People contract for manufacturing goods. Sometimes the manufacturer sells straight to the consumer. Sometimes it goes through a distribution center. I mean, there are so many pieces to this that when one starts to backlog and bottleneck, it's just a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And then you take into account, obviously the pandemic, and you've got labor shortage is huge. There's no truck drivers to unload off the trucks. You've got trains that are backed up because there's inbound trains can't come in because there's a train still waiting for containers. And as you can see,
it's a step by step. I like you, and you said before we started, I really liked researching for the show.
This was interesting.
It's 11:11. I just always like to point it out.
Make a wish.
Sorry, go ahead.
Was Ryan here the last time you did the 11:11?
He was.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody make a wish. You can make a wish that the supply chain issue starts.
Totally.
That's
Make
what
a wish
you need
you have
to do.
presents under the tree.
Yeah. And so they're doing certain things
Yeah.
to try. I mean, I know the Biden administration, Port of Long Beach, I think, was already working 24/7. I think the Biden administration now ordered the Port of LA to do the same thing. But you've got forecasters saying, at this point, it's like planting an orchard for the hungry now.
Yeah.
What's going on right now is not going to happen fast enough.
Well, it reminds me of this time of year, this time in 2019, where we just started to hear, there's some kind of weird virus over in China.
Gosh, yeah. We heard this.
It looks
thing.
a little different than others.
But we're
and all of us. I mean, I was like, whatever. It's way over there. It's and then it got a little louder as of
It's not gonna cross the
January.
ocean.
And then obviously by the end of February, early March, boom. And so I don't, this is because of COVID is why
it is.
It's a ripple effect.
It is.
It's a ripple effect from 2020.
But what's interesting, because if you think about it, there are far more people ordering consumer goods versus services, right? Restaurants closed, hotels closed. So what were we all doing last year? Online shopping.
Yeah.
That's what all of us were doing. We were buying our Pelotons, we were buying desks, we were buying, things to work from home.
Yeah.
Homeschool supplies for our kids, everything and then Christmas, I don't think I went to a store.
Yeah.
I
didn't.
It was all online shopping, which this year online shopping is going to be greatly impacted because the industry isn't going to be able to provide, and that's why they're saying shop now.
Right.
Because
we're going to talk about 3 tips to do.
Yes.
How do you save Christmas now?
Well, and I have one more tip. As you can tell, so we all say it's COVID, right? And that's extremely true in the sense that at these container facilities, so you've got anywhere from mandates, you've got the social distancing aspect of it, you've got when a COVID outbreak comes, now they've got to bring in cleaning supplies. You've got people that went through furlough period last year that have not or chose not to go back to work for whatever reasons, or they did a career change. A lot of people decided that last year, know. So not only, and I found this interesting, not only is it the COVID-19, but you also have, extreme weather in Texas contributes to the microchip shortage, or what did they call that? The microchip, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
The global microchip
Yeah, thank you.
shortage. Yeah.
And then electricity outages in China have largely contributed to another reason
because it's been vulnerable already. So anything on top of that vulnerability because of COVID is going to exacerbate.
And then they have these outages that are now also causing a spike in manufacturing costs, and then the ability to manufacture at all. And then you have the increased spike in cost in supply of goods, inflation. You've got shipping containers costing more. So it is COVID-19 related. Some will say this may have started right before COVID. But then you also have these other, Mother Nature extreme weather outages on top of, what China's had to go through with COVID. So I found that
So
extremely...
it's real. I mean, as
this isn't just
you
one
dig in,
issue.
and we encourage our listeners to dig in, because once you start to research it, and again, we are not here to create panic.
No.
We're here to give you a heads up. One of my favorite shows
Shop
from
now.
earlier in the year was our show called Inflation Nation, where we started to read and we started to really get this whole warning of what inflation was going to do and how it was probably going to go into double digits. Now we're all living it in our grocery bills, at the gas pump, in any kind of consumer good.
If you can find it, too.
And availability issues. And so, we talked on that show about baseball cards or football cards for my son, and now they're not even carried in stores, And so what we do is like to present kind of not just to panic you, but to make you aware so that you can be informed, so that you can do things now that other people aren't thinking about. We were chatting on the way,
which would be me,
the show, and I was like, "Well, have you done this and this?" And she's like, "You're like, no." I mean, I've done Christmas shopping for my husband, which also has a birthday on Christmas Eve. So, like, it's all full-blown within 2 days. So I have to be on it. Yeah. I have all of my technology gifts already purchased because of, because right now, if you take the time, and I know it's October, so it feels super early, but if you decide kind of what are the main items, you should probably get them now.
Well, and if you are... I think a lot of people, it's going to come down to, if they haven't done their shopping early enough, you're going to be forced to go to actual stores, which I'm in favor of, by the way. I'm not against, but they're going to have a supply shortage in the stores.
Well, and I wonder the desperation. I mean, you always read those stories on like Black Friday of like people trampling over each other or just getting out of hand.
They might not have anything to fight over this
might
year.
Take that to another level because of just there's going to be...
Or there'll be so
true
much of a
supply
shortage
issue, right? And we've seen this also at grocery stores. So you go to your local grocery store today, and you're like, wow, not all. We've been so spoiled as I think Americans we're just used to going and having the pick of any brand and any product, and it's all just right there.
We never
fully
have to wait.
Stocked. We never.
It's
have
right
to
here,
wait.
right now.
And I think we're rounding a corner. Certainly here and globally, where you won't be able to just go get another one of something.
Right.
That, we're seeing upticks in the whole consignment space is another really good space to look at right now because it's grown. Absolutely. And it's repurposing products and it's good for the environment and so on and so forth. And that's an industry that has quadrupled in the last year. Yeah. And we've talked about that on a couple different shows.
Well, did you already see that several stores are already starting their Black Friday sales already? Because they know this is coming and that they know that as of, it could be by Black Friday in November, they don't have the supply to offer as many of the deals. Do you know what I mean? So they're already encouraging shoppers, and I don't blame them too. They want people to shop early.
Yeah,
shop now.
Of course. They want the revenue. They want to elongate the season so that they can still appreciate the growth that they need year over year. And let's be honest. This is why inflation has become an issue, is because there's a limit on goods that cost increase at your restaurant, at your local at the grocery store. It's being passed on to you. You're paying it. The retailers have to pass it on to you because they can't afford it.
Right.
The restaurant has to pass it on to you because they can't afford it. Yeah. And you mentioned labor a second ago. You see hiring signs all over the place right now because there's a shortage of labor. Right. Number one, because people, were incentivized for a while to they made more on unemployment and they got through the pandemic that way, and that's okay. But now, they maybe don't want to enter back in the workforce quite yet. And there's everything's open now. So the demand it's like a light switch, not a dimmer. Like the demand, the light switch has been turned up so that now everyone is open. And so everyone needs workers. So what you're also seeing are labor costs increasing by 40 and 50%, where last year the average was, for a retail worker was about $13.02. Now they're having to increase that to $19 or $20 an hour to attract workers, which then gets passed on to you. So anything I do right now, whenever I'm ordering something in bulk or hosting something, it has almost doubled in cost, especially around food. I've noticed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I think part of the planning that we're encouraging people to do is not just about shopping early. And we're going to talk about more things than just shopping in a second, because that's not the true meaning of the holiday season.
Well, it's a
finance show.
This is, and it's a relevant topic.
Yes, it is. It's going to be impacting all of us. But the other thing is, you know, you're going to have to plan your budget a little differently. And this is also why I wanted to talk on this show, because people historically, there are some people that, a lot of people out there who take loans out for Christmas or who overextend themselves on credit cards because of where prices are going to be this Christmas. You're going to be, more of us are going to be tempted to do that just to afford the gifts out there.
Right.
So I think, so we have some practical tips that I wanted to bring up. Again, plant some seeds, start to get you all thinking about some things. You might not be getting a full tree's worth of presents. It might be just a few items, because those items are going to be spending your budget quicker than years past.
Speaking of budget, have you asked your husband for your Christmas presents yet? I know
so
what they are.
here's the most important tip of the day. I was going to share this at the end, but I'll share it now.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to give everyone a tip here. This is something we started a few years ago, and like, it's awesome. If you want a certain gift from your significant other, here's what you need to do. You need to find a partner in that where you have each other's backs, and that person is in charge of planting those seeds on your behalf. So I don't have to tell my husband what I want for Christmas. I put that on April's list, and she strategically knows when to plant those things. And her husband and I do the same thing of, like, every year David comes to me, he's like, what should I do?
Am I going to get a Peloton
and he never
this year?
takes my suggestions. And
she's not answering me. Am I going to get a Peloton this year?
Your suggestions and my suggestions are always above our husband's budgets. And so they're always like, no. So, but a certain, like an iteration of that. So you might get an actual bicycle. I don't think you'll get a Peloton.
I might get a track bike.
He might get you a tricycle or something to ride around your neighborhood.
Well,
but no.
I need you to plant the seed.
I'm working
because he
on
doesn't
my
think of stuff like
strategy
this
now.
So if it's a Peloton, I need him to order it soon.
I know.
Well, and your presents, actually, it would be, your husband wouldn't even have to order your, I mean, he does, but
mine are ridiculous. I mean, there's a bag I really love, and I want a horse. So those are things that normal people can't. But so planting with your best friends is a very good idea. But here's the other one that we can all do. And this works, people. So our phones listen to us, right?
This is a good one.
So
I like
every
this.
time my husband's phone is like, and he's not in the room, but his phone is down, which is not that often because he usually has it. But there are opportunities. You just grab your significant other's phone and you just say, horse, 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 horse. And like say the product that you want inside the phone. Buy a horse, buy a horse, buy a horse. And the technology that listens to you, that eerily tracks you, the feeds will start in that brand name or in that product name.
I do need to blow your
using technology.
I need to blow your bubble for 1 second.
Okay.
And actually it just crossed my mind. Well, that's genius. And everybody, there's your $1 million idea, everybody. Your husband's not on social media.
I know, but it'll actually, if he's on ESPN, it will still link to the different feeds. So
I know he gets on ESPN
social media
for a fantasy league. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So maybe he gets the pop-ups there.
Yep.
All right.
So, and if he Googles something, the advertising world listens for multiple reasons, and the government. I'm just kidding.
Did you just say that in your outline? They're listening.
I hate how phones listen to us because they absolutely do.
All right. I want these tips because and here's let's call this a tidbit of good news.
Yes.
So while this seems overwhelming, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, the picture of this, like you can't really see this very well, but
if
like
you Google like supply chain,
the busiest port in the U.S.
issues.
Like it is insane.
It is
how backlogged it is. But the good news is that it's because there is such elevated demand. People are still wanting to buy.
That's right.
People are still purchasing. People are still spending money. We need the economy.
Been doing
people
very
to spend
well,
money. Yes.
and the market has been doing very well.
Yes, and so it's going to be. These are going to break records for how many containers, how much supply of goods, how even as the costs increase, people are still buying, which is good, and it speaks to hopefully things rebounding and getting better.
That's right.
But I would like to know what these tips are because just to be transparent, I haven't started shopping because after I researched this last night, I nudged my son and went, oh my gosh, you have got to tell me what you want for Christmas because this is bad.
I know.
No, not bad.
And
but
again, this is not what the holidays are all about, but everyone wants to buy their
buy
loved
my
ones
kid Christmas gifts.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of our tips are certainly more like prepare, because if I don't know how big of an issue this is going to be. If it's a real big issue, I think it also requires planning. So if it's not just about gifts, and it's good motivation, I think, to think about, okay, what other things, when kids remember Christmas, and think about what you all remember for Christmas, you don't remember the gifts you got. You remember, one of our main tips is you remember the traditions.
Yes.
You remember, baking cookies with your grandmother or with your mom or dad. You remember
decorating the tree.
You remember the family
Yeah.
traditions.
Right.
So, take some time early now in October to think about, okay, what traditions do I do and what do I want to expand upon? Because it takes planning. Because family traditions, I mean, all those cookies and all the things, it takes planning. It takes, okay, when am I going to do this? It takes just a little bit of intentionality or take on some new ones.
Yeah.
Because that's what your family's going to remember. And so, especially on this Christmas, you might not have the typical pass of just a lot of presents and just, like throw money. When we have problems, we tend to throw money at it sometimes, right? Yeah. Or we just try to solve it. This is an opportunity, I think, to get a little bit more intentional and do some creative planning where maybe we can dial down the consumerism a little bit, because it certainly takes on a life of its own around the holidays.
I do remember my Cabbage Patch, though.
I remember
getting that
presents.
Cabbage Patch.
Me too.
Do you remember how those? My mom told me the story about standing in line for that, so I do remember my Cabbage Patch. But you're right. We do remember their traditions. We do remember that the intangibles, the things we couldn't, touch or feel, but the lifelong memories.
Absolutely.
So we do encourage that. Yeah.
And then obviously the true meaning of the holidays that you celebrate have reasons why they're a holiday. So spending time, like we celebrate the Advent season for Christmas, to celebrate the meaning. Do
you have an
Christmas
Advent calendar that you open every day? Like
we have it in the past, but I'm actually thinking about. We always used to do the chocolate ones. You opened. It's called they called it an Advent calendar, but there was chocolate involved. So I think that's what the ones I remembered, because I remembered the chocolate being involved. But so I was thinking of that. But we do have like an Advent wreath in the calendar or the candles,
do you have,
and
like, the thing that you
read through it.
I bought the thing last year, where you take something, so you pull one out a day leading up to Christmas.
Like what are you pulling out?
So, you can do different, like you could probably put candy in it. But for our family, we decided like leading up to Christmas, we would put a prayer in each day.
Oh, so you're holier than me.
I didn't mean that to sound holier than that. I meant like,
no, but that's
because last year was COVID and it was really tough.
For sure.
And we were living on, it was a tough, and it was really a time to refocus on really what for us this season means and what it's all about. And so each, my son and my husband and I, we got a section of days. And so we each split up little piece of paper and wrote out prayers for other people or for, whatever. And then we prayed. Yeah. Anyways, I didn't mean to make that sound so
holier.
No, that's what I meant to do.
I just all feel bad about our chocolate calendars.
I quit.
No, I love that. But if you have religious meaning in your life and you want to, obviously, if you want to add to the spiritual component of the holiday, that always refocuses you in the right direction.
Well, now listen, my son was still watching for all those Christmas presents to be wrapped under the tree. So let's not make it sound like he got caught up in prayer.
We read the birth story of Jesus before we do Christmas presents on Christmas morning, and so
we don't.
They're like, yes, he was in a manger. I get it. There was wise men.
Yep, Son of God. There was 3 gifts and out.
Totally. But to train up the discipline of, it's not just about the presents, it's just not. But I love having a lot of presents under my tree.
It's fun.
My grandmother was a huge present lover. She loved Christmas.
Is that where you get it from? You love
I
gift
do.
giving is your love language.
It is my love. And it's my father's too. My grandmother was my father's mother. So I think it's just passed down. And so, I remember playing Monopoly, or the Christmas game was a big game. I mean, whatever game we picked, it would take hours on Christmas Eve, because she would want to go to bed. So she would want to play games like so late.
Oh, that's so sweet.
She was so excited about Christmas Christmas morning. And it's just, so she brought a lot of joy. She's not here with us anymore. But, up until her, 90th Christmas, she's like, here's my list.
Well, she was.
And here's what I'm hoping for. It was hilarious. And and
Grandma
she
Jean.
appreciated it so much. So that's kind of fun, some of the things so tips, right? So we're working on tips. So family traditions, focusing on family traditions. What are some of yours?
Oh, we always watch Elf. That's like a big.
Oh, like the night before Christmas?
Yes. So we'll watch. Well, the night
We
before
watch the Polar Express,
night before
don't we?
Christmas is the Polar Express.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
leading up to Christmas, we plan out every single night what Christmas movie we're gonna watch. Now he's getting older and a teenager, but he still loves these.
Yeah.
Like he still loves
I think all kids have some, and adults, nostalgia that comes back.
And who doesn't love Buddy the Elf? What's your favorite color?
Yeah,
I mean, if
for
that
sure.
movie is so, love that.
Totally.
So obviously decorating the tree is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
My husband doesn't love to decorate. The man will go all out with his fall decorations. You've seen them now recently, all out. It comes to Christmas and he's like, oh my God.
Except the year, remember when when we were neighbors, we were talking about the Christmas circuit of people driving by on Christmas circuits, and he stepped up his game that year. I remember because I told him David, you might be on the circuit this year, and I don't know something, and that was the year he went Griswold.
Well, of course he does because I know we really look like the Griswolds, and it's
about a competition at that point.
There's an audience and a competition. Sign me up. That's how he is. But just so you know, everybody, there's a backlog in Christmas decorations as well. So you might want to start getting those.
We are already planning. Our lights are going up on November 15th.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But anywho, that is what we wanted to focus on. Again, Christmas crisis, we want it averted. We want it avoided.
There's not. Don't we have another tip left? Is that the last?
Well, we said focusing on the real meaning,
yeah,
family tradition, and we spent the first half of the show talking about shop early. Shop early.
So
Make
we kind of
did
this
now.
backwards.
We did.
You were going to do that.
Yes,
okay, gotcha.
Yes, but which is great.
Well, so we told you to focus on traditions and stuff, but don't forget about shopping early. And make sure that you tell your best friend's significant other to shop for her
use my phone
early.
strategy, and you'll be golden.
That's true. Well, and so I should start speaking donkey into not that my husband knows. One of these days, I'm going to get a real live one.
I know.
It's not just going to be flip.
I can plant those seeds instead of.
I've been planting those seeds for years. Whatever.
We were so close. I think it was 2 years ago. I was so close to getting him to do it, and then he did some kind of research about how long they live, and it just
don't
went
you remember
downhill
he
from
took
then.
me to the donkey farm?
I
and
know.
He let me pick out 2 and was like, "We can buy these 2." And do you want to know when we got home? It was like, "Are we sure this is a good idea?" I'm like, "Wasn't this my present?"
We should remind him of those things. We'll keep you posted.
Whatever.
on if we can be victorious.
He took away a gift, like my most favorite gift of all time, after he gave it to me.
Don't they last like they live
40
like
years.
30 years? 40 years. I think that's what did it for him. That's what he cried.
He thinks too much about it. Whatever. We'll deal with that when it happens.
I know.
Whatever.
Well, so there's your practical
Yes.
tips today. How can people find us? Where can they find these tips?
Well, they can find us on our website, copytalkpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram. We want to hear from you. We love our community. We're so grateful for the ones reaching out, asking questions. Hashtag on Instagram. Follow us. What should be our hashtag today?
Oh, family traditions.
Okay, there you go. Hashtag
Yeah.
family traditions.
Get some good ideas.
And then, of course, on our website, we're always uploading links. The new book, or not the new book, but the book you mentioned last week is up.
Yep.
And then, of course, your favorite and mine, which we say every week. That was so good. YouTube. Ring the bell. Please subscribe.
Type in Copy Talk and it'll come right up.
Yeah, my parents actually
Talk
texted me last night. We watched
podcast.
2 back to back in a row.
Oh, it's like
I
they
know.
feel like they can spend time with you in a safe environment.
Oh, my mom goes, by the way, it's not the 1 millionth Candy Crush level. I'm on 4,000. I'm like, wow. Come on. Yeah. But that's where you
Good
can
job,
find us.
Miss Marilyn. We're proud of you on this show.
Yes.
Awesome.
So everybody have a good week.
Alrighty, have a great week.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor. Shannon Ross is CEO and managing partner of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated.